Good evening. Some of the friends who are here for the first time may know that we Baha'is, our salutation is Allah, which means God is light. This occasion, the occasion of the passing of the beloved mother of Mrs. Vakili, as Dr. Izzadi mentioned, coincides with this auspicious date of the birth of the Bab, who was the forerunner, and as we say, the co-founder of the Baha'i faith. He was born in a city in the south of Iran, in the southern part of Iran, which is Shiraz, on October 20th, 1819. And that began the episode, the story of the Baha'is. Initially, in the initial years, they were called Babis, and then Baha'u'llah, who is the founder of the Baha'i faith, gave that name Baha'i to this faith. I think I'm supposed to speak to you a few minutes about the question of life after death. But I must admit to you that I prayed and I tried to get a vision of life after death, but I don't have a clear vision of it. So I have to, like many others, except if they have their own vision, we need to see what the prophets, or what we call the manifestations of God, say when they talk about life after death. And also poets. Many poets have had visions of what life after death is, what it is supposed to be. So I'll just share with you a few passages from Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith, on the question of life after death, and also a few poems from a few poets that I'm sure you all know. But before I do that, I'd like to mention to you the fact that the Bab, the forerunner of the Baha'i faith, has two very important prayers. And guess what these two important prayers are? One prayer is about birth, and one prayer is about death. Tonight we're celebrating the birth of the Bab and the passing of Mrs. Rasakhi. These two prayers are very important. The prayer that Bab has revealed with regard to the question of birth has 5 main verses. And the question that the Bab has revealed on the question of death has 6 verses that we all chant when somebody passes away. It's the same prayer that Baha'u'llah has also accepted that to be chanted. In both of them, the Bab talks about he talks about we. He doesn't say I. He says we believe in God. We accept and honor God. It has to do with these verses. What is important both in the prayer which is for birth and the prayer which is for death, he doesn't say I. He says we. And when he says we, it reflects humanity, entire human race. Because one thing which Baha'i faith is very emphatic about is oneness and the wholeness of the human race. The oneness of the human race. So these two prayers talk about we believe in God. We are satisfied with whatever the intention of God is. But it is interesting that the prayer on birth has 5 verses and the prayer on death has 6 verses. So let me share with you a couple of passages from Baha'u'llah, from one of his shortest books that I hope everyone, Baha'i or non-Baha'i, would try to get this small book. It's a very small book. The very short passages. So I'll share with you 2 passages on the question of death from Baha'u'llah from this small book, which is called The Hidden Words. And let's all together reflect on these two passages. The first one, he says, O son of being, bring thyself to account each day, ere thou art summoned to a reckoning. For death, unheralded, shall come upon thee, and thou shalt be called to give account for thy deeds. So in this passage, Baha'u'llah says that every day we should account for that day. Who am I? Where have I come from? What have I done today? And ultimately the vision of Baha'i faith, which is the vision of all manifestations of God. Jesus and Moses and all the rest. But this is now, humanity has reached the age of maturity. So what Baha'u'llah says in this regard is that today is the day that every day we should account for our deeds as to what we have done today and what have I achieved, what could I have done better, and how can I do better the next day. That's basically the gist of it. And let's listen carefully to this second passage with regard to the question of death from the Baha'i perspective. Again, in that same book, The Hidden Words. Baha'u'llah says, O Son of the Supreme, I have made death a messenger of joy to thee. Wherefore dost thou grieve? I made the light to shed on thee its splendor. Why dost thou veil thyself therefrom? So as you see, particularly from the Baha'i perspective, death is not a day of mourning. We have memorial gathering to share what that person had achieved, what person has had done in his life, what legacy he or she has for us. But we don't mourn as such. We honor the memory. And in a way, Baha'u'llah says, it's a message of joy. It is not a message of sadness. So we are in that sense joyful. So with that, let me also share with you a very short passage from Quran, the holy book of Muslims. For us Baha'is, these holy books are chapters of the same book. There's absolutely no difference. They're chapters of the same book. As we go to the second grade and third grade, there's a new revelation. And that revelation is the new teaching from Moses and Jesus and Muhammad and the Bab and Baha'u'llah and so on. So this is what we Baha'is call the oneness of religion, the essence, the oneness of the essence of religion. So this short passage from Quran, Muhammad said, we're all from God, and to Him we shall return. We're all from God, and to Him we shall return. And this is the journey, from what we understand with our limited understanding, is an everlasting journey. We are on this path forever, the path of reaching God. And thank God that we're not perfect, because this is a search for perfection. What we understand from God is a symbol of perfection. And so we are on that path toward perfection that we will never reach, but we're on that path. So now let me share with you, in these few minutes, a few most beautiful poems from seers, poets of the past few centuries. One of them that I really love is from Khalil Gibran, the Lebanese poet that many of you I'm sure have heard. He says, "For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered?" So he has also reached that conclusion that death should be joyful, in effect. And he says, "When you drink from the sea of silence, shall you indeed sing? And when you have reached the mountaintop, then shall you begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then shall you truly dance. I think it's beautiful, and vision of this beauty of ending this life and beginning a journey toward everlasting life. That's what he's saying. The other poem I want to share with you is from Rumi, that I'm sure all of you, many of you know about. This perhaps is one of his last poems that he envisioned his own death. And in this short poem, he says in effect that joyful message that Baha'u'llah gives with regard to death. He says, "For my funeral, call the drummers, timbal beaters, and tambourine players. March toward my grave dancing, thus happy, gay, intoxicated, with hands clapping, so that people would know that the friends of God go happy and smiling toward the place of meeting." So in effect, this is the vision, that we should be happy when we die, because the place of meeting is reaching God. We are going on that journey to reach God. So this was Rumi's vision. And here is a short poem from an American poet that did not want to reveal his name. He wanted to give a vision with regard to his death. And this is what he says. He says, "Do not stand at my grave and weep. I'm not there. I do not sleep. I'm 1,000 winds that blow. I'm the diamond glints in the snow. I'm the sunlight on ripened grain. I'm the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning hush, I'm the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I'm the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I'm not there. I did not die." So his vision that death is not the end. Death is in fact the beginning. And we do not really disappear. So all of these poems really are in sync with the vision of prophets, of manifestation of God, who give us, who console us that we should not be grieved, and we should in effect be joyful. And I'll end my short remarks, which wasn't really remarks, it was sharing the passages from the holy writings, plus a few poems. I'll share with you another poem from Rumi, and this vision of his, he had written it long before his death, and he didn't give it the title, but when I read it, I wanted to give it the title, "The Day I Met God," or "The Day I Met His Manifestations," something in that regard. It's a love poem, and many of my American friends, when they read it, they look at it as love poem, which is true, it's a love poem. But it's the love for Master of the Universe, and love for manifestations of God, and love for prophets. So I really love this poem. It's so both poetic and deep in meaning, because he's saying, I don't know how many of you have reached that point, but he's saying that he has, in his life, at that particular moment, he had reached God. He has met God. He says, "Do not stand at my grave and weep. I'm not there. I do not sleep. I'm 1,000 winds that blow. I'm the diamond glints in the snow. I'm the sunlight on ripened grain. I'm the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning hush, I'm the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I'm the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I'm not there. I did not die." So his vision that death is not the end. Death is in fact the beginning. And we do not really disappear. So all of these poems really are in sync with the vision of prophets, of manifestation of God, who give us, who console us that we should not be grieved, and we should in effect be joyful. And I'll end my short remarks. It wasn't really remarks, it was sharing the passages from the Holy Writings, plus a few poems. I'll share with you another poem from Rumi, and this vision of his, he had written it long before his death, and he didn't give it the title, but when I read it, I wanted to give it the title, The Day I Met God, or The Day I Met His Manifestations, something in that regard. It's a love poem, and many of my American friends, when they read it, they look at it as love poem, which is true, it's a love poem. But it's the love for Master of the Universe, and love for manifestations of God, and love for prophets. So I really love this poem. It's so both poetic and deep in meaning, because he's saying, I don't know how many of you have reached that point, but he's saying that he has, in his life, at that particular moment, he had reached God. He has met God. So in that sense, when we have that vision, it's even more beautiful. He says, from the beginning of my life, I have been looking for your face. From the beginning of my life, I have been looking for your face. Praise God. But today I've seen it. Today I've seen the charm, the beauty, the unfathomable grace of the face that I was looking for. Today I found you, and those who laughed and who scorned me yesterday are sorry that they were not looking as I did. I'm bewildered by the magnificence of your beauty and wish to see you with 100 eyes. I'm ashamed to call this love human and afraid of God to call it divine. Your fragrant breath, like the morning breeze, has come to the stillness of the garden. I have become your sunshine and also your shadow. My soul is screaming in ecstasy. Every fiber of my being is in love with you. Your effulgence has lit a fire in my heart, and you have made radiant for me the earth and the sky. My arrow of love has arrived at the target. I'm in the house of mercy, and my heart is a place of prayer.